Imagine this, you're a fan who wants to soak in every possible angle: security protocols, the smell of the food stalls, the roar for a favorite player, the grind of the schedule, the sheer athletic explosion of a power shot, the balletic movement across clay, the clever variety of a well-placed drop shot. You love all of it. And then you see her asterisk, that raw strength, that court coverage, and something clicks. That feeling. The entire tennis world just felt it too, because the French Open just detonated a quiet earthquake. It started on live television, a medium usually reserved for predictable statements and polite pleasantries. Amélie Mauresmo, the director of the French Open, did something that most tournament directors would consider far too bold. She didn't just mention a player's name in passing. She didn't recite a routine line of welcome. Instead, she leaned into the camera and personally, publicly, welcomed a young Filipina star named Alex Eala into the hallowed grounds of Roland Garros. And the way she spoke, with genuine awe, with unmistakable admiration, made it clear this wasn't a formality. Mauresmo handed Eala a full recognition, a complete respect, openly acknowledging that this athlete represents something that transcends tennis lines and scoreboards. This is a global movement, a cultural inflection point. Let's be clear why this moment is heavier than it seems. When the director of one of the four most prestigious tournaments on earth personally ensures a 20-year-old feels at home before a single ball is struck, you're not witnessing routine protocol. You're witnessing a statement. Mauresmo revealed she had gone out of her way to welcome Eala in a thoughtful, personal manner, to make her feel comfortable, appreciated, valued. That's not red carpet treatment, that's a conscious signal. Roland Garros is telling the world, this young woman is no longer just a promising talent. She is a player capable of headlining the sport's next era. But Mauresmo didn't stop at hospitality. She made another remark that should raise eyebrows across the tennis establishment. She openly, almost excitedly, acknowledged the massive wave of fans expected to pour into Paris specifically for Eala. There was no downplaying. No, she's one of many. Mauresmo essentially said, we see the crowd coming, we understand the scale of this global following, and we are prepared for it. In fact, the scheduling for this year's French Open has reportedly been rearranged, tweaked, adjusted, optimized, to ensure that the enormous contingents traveling from the Philippines, across Asia, and from every corner of the world can pack the iconic clay courts and experience Eala's matches in comfort. That is not a small concession. That is a logistical red carpet rollout. So why is one of the most traditional, prestigious tournaments in all of sports suddenly rolling out this level of commitment? The answer is a clever cocktail of genuine admiration and sharp business instinct, and there's nothing cynical about it. Mauresmo and the leadership at Roland Garros have realized what the rest of the tennis world is only now waking up to. Alex Eala isn't just a rising ranking, she's a phenomenon, a movement. A cultural gravity well that pulls entirely new audiences into the sport, audiences that had never before cared about a backhand or a clay court slide. Ignoring that momentum wouldn't be prudent. It would be a missed opportunity the size of Paris itself. The evidence has been piling up like unreturnable serves. Rewind to the Miami Open earlier this year. Every time Eala stepped onto a court, the entire atmosphere of the tournament mutated. The stadium buzzed with an electricity that felt chemically different. Stands were packed from warm-up to match point. Ticket prices reportedly surged to levels that made longtime observers choke on their espresso. And it wasn't just winning, it was the asterisk way she won, creating unforgettable highlight reel moments that fans desperately wanted to witness live. Each appearance became a headline event. Supporters arrived early, stayed late, and brought an intensity that elevated the entire tournament. James Blake, the tournament director, saw the wave coming and made a brilliant strategic call: put Eala on the biggest courts, maximize exposure, let the global audience see her. It turned out to be a masterstroke. She became one of the defining faces of the Miami Open, generating enormous crowds and massive international viewership, especially from Asian markets where her popularity has exploded to almost unbelievable levels. Many observers called Miami her true breakout moment, especially considering she entered as a wildcard. A wildcard, and still she captured worldwide attention with a mix of raw performance and undeniable charisma. But here's the detail that really exposes her impact. The clearest proof of Eala's importance arrived the moment her run ended. When she was eliminated in the round of 16, the change was immediate and impossible to ignore. Ticket demand, which had been soaring, dropped almost overnight. Prices that had reached extraordinary heights during her matches fell sharply. The electric buzz that had defined the tournament's first week vanished. According to reports and online discussions, daily revenue from ticket sales, streaming interest, and media attention, which had ranged from hundreds of thousands to nearly $1 million per day during her matches, took a major nosedive after her exit. It wasn't a normal post-hype slowdown. It felt like the tournament had lost its main generator the moment Eala walked off the court. Why? Because Eala doesn't just attract existing tennis fans, she introduces an entirely new audience to the sport. Many of her viewers had never seriously followed tennis before. They tuned in specifically for her. A huge percentage of that support came from Asian audiences, where her popularity has grown at an extraordinary pace and fan engagement has become incredibly intense. Once she was out, those casual viewers stopped watching. The lesson was brutal and clear. Her influence at just 20 years old is already that powerful. The same lesson was hammered home at Indian Wells in 2026. Her debut there transformed the atmosphere instantly. Her opening match against Diana Yastremska generated such extraordinary ticket demand that discussions claimed millions of dollars in sales were tied to that single match alone. Whether the exact figures are debated, one thing became undeniable. Eala had become a massive attraction, capable of moving crowds, media attention, and global interest in ways very few players on the tour currently can. And that shocked longtime insiders, because tennis traditionally builds its audiences around established superstars with years of Grand Slam success. Eala was doing it at 20, fueled not just by wins, but by an emotional connection fans felt with her journey. She represented something new, fresh, deeply inspiring, especially across Asia and the Philippines, where support for her had exploded beyond ordinary fandom into something closer to a cultural pilgrimage. Her matches were no longer just sporting events, they were moments people felt they needed to witness live. Tournament organizers at Indian Wells quickly realized, every time Eala stepped on court, attendance surged, online engagement exploded, and the energy inside the venue completely changed. Social media clips of her matches spread across multiple countries. Broadcasters saw spikes in interest. International media increased coverage. Fans who had never followed the WTA Tour began organizing watch parties, buying merchandise, and planning trips just to support her. She was introducing an entirely new demographic to the sport. Then came the moment insiders point to as the clearest proof. When Eala's run at Indian Wells ended, the atmosphere shifted. Momentum slowed. Online buzz cooled. The casual viewers stopped watching. Reports suggested officials were left scrambling to recreate the excitement that had existed while she was still competing. And Tommy Haas became increasingly vocal about the need for the tennis world, including the WTA, to do more to capitalize on the enormous global interest Eala was bringing into the sport. All of this created the perfect backdrop for Mauresmo and Roland Garros. They had been paying close attention to Miami and Indian Wells. They saw the crowds, the television numbers, the viral moments. They saw the emotional connection fans had developed with Eala. And instead of dismissing it as temporary hype, they made a strategic decision to fully embrace it. That's why Mauresmo's public comments mattered so much. It wasn't a polite welcome. It was an acknowledgement that Eala has already become one of the most important emerging figures in global tennis. Mauresmo personally ensuring Eala felt comfortable, and then speaking about it on live television amplified the message. Roland Garros wanted the world to know they recognize her value, not just as an athlete, but as a global phenomenon capable of attracting millions of passionate supporters. The scheduling decisions at this year's French Open reflect that understanding. Tournament officials reportedly spent significant time carefully planning where and when Eala would play, knowing full well that fans were traveling internationally, from the Philippines, across Asia, from around the world, specifically to watch her compete in Paris. These were not ordinary crowds. These were deeply invested supporters willing to spend money, travel internationally, and reshape the atmosphere of an entire tournament just to see one player step onto the court. And perhaps that is the biggest reason the tennis world is suddenly paying such close attention. Eala is not simply winning matches or climbing rankings anymore. She is changing the economics, visibility, and emotional reach of women's tennis in real time. Very few athletes possess the ability to attract entirely new audiences to a sport, especially at such a young age. Yet Eala appears to be doing exactly that, which is why major tournaments are now treating her presence as something far bigger than a normal player appearance. The French Open understands the opportunity in front of them. Through Mauresmo's comments and Roland Garros' actions, they have made it clear they intend to embrace that opportunity completely. Fans are traveling from the Philippines, across Asia, and from virtually every corner of the world just to watch Alex Eala compete on the clay courts of Paris. Because of that, the French Open understands that the least it can do is ensure those supporters receive the experience they came for. From the scheduling decisions to the public comments, everything about the tournament's approach suggests officials fully recognize the scale of excitement surrounding her arrival. They know this is bigger than a typical first-round storyline. This is a player capable of transforming the atmosphere of an entire event. What makes this moment feel even more significant is what it represents for the future of tennis itself. For years, the sport has searched for ways to expand into new markets, connect with younger audiences, and create deeper global engagement beyond its traditional fan base. Tennis has always had stars, but very few players have managed to break through cultural barriers the way Eala is doing right now. She is not only attracting existing tennis fans, she is introducing the sport to completely new audiences. Millions of people who previously had little connection to tennis are suddenly following tournaments, learning the rules, watching live matches, and emotionally investing in the sport because of her journey. And the reason this movement feels so powerful is that it is not being driven purely by hype or celebrity status. Eala is backing it up on the court. She's competing at the highest level, taking on elite opponents, producing performances that fans genuinely cannot stop talking about. Every tournament seems to create another unforgettable moment, another dramatic match, another viral highlight that spreads across social media and pulls even more people into the sport. That combination, talent, charisma, relatability, global representation, is incredibly rare in modern tennis, which is exactly why so many tournament organizers now see her as one of the sport's most important emerging figures. Mauresmo clearly understands that reality. Roland Garros clearly understands it as well. They watched what happened in Miami, where the energy surrounding Eala transformed the entire tournament atmosphere. They saw the massive attention she generated at Indian Wells. They saw the crowds, the international media coverage, the surge in online engagement, the emotional investment from fans all around the world. And instead of treating that momentum cautiously, the French Open decided to fully embrace it, publicly welcoming her, giving her special attention, preparing the tournament environment for the enormous crowds expected to support her. Roland Garros has effectively announced that it views her as one of the sport's next major global attractions. Now all eyes are turning toward Paris to see what happens next. The welcome has been given, the stage has been prepared, the anticipation is enormous. Fans around the world are waiting to see whether Alex Eala can once again rise to the occasion and create another unforgettable chapter in her rapidly growing career. And if her performances at the Miami Open and Indian Wells proved anything, it is that whenever Alex Eala steps onto the court, the atmosphere changes instantly, and absolutely anything feels possible. With all the attention, excitement, and momentum surrounding her right now, many fans genuinely believe that the French Open may never feel quite the same again. The energy building around her arrival in Paris has created a level of anticipation that is rare even for one of the biggest tournaments in the world. The crowds are expected to be massive, the atmosphere electric, and the global spotlight brighter than ever.